Selati Lion Alliance, the bloodiest purge in the African savanna. A lion coalition once emerged with a single objective to end the dominance of the Mapogo group. When the influence of Mapogo weakened and their power became unstable, a new force began to rise. That force was Selati, a coalition of male lions formed through competition, shaped through conflict, and matured through intense confrontations. The dry season in southern Africa covered the grasslands with a burned yellow tone. The strong sunlight caused the ground to crack, and when sunset arrived, the horizon shifted to a deep red color. The wind swept across the grass, carrying dust and the scent of danger hidden beneath the stillness. The entire plain appeared to wait for something about to happen. From the edge of the forest, four powerful bodies moved forward together. They were not wandering individuals. They moved as a group that had been bonded for a long time. Selati consisted of 4 male lions, each raised among continuous competition and shaped by life and death encounters. Ahead of them, a herd of Cape buffalo grazed calmly. These animals weighed nearly 2,000 pounds, carried curved horns, and held a defensive formation that was difficult for any predator to penetrate. For Selati, the herd was not only a food source, but also an opportunity to establish dominance. When the attack began, the ground vibrated with the heavy rhythm of hooves and the sound of wind being torn by high-speed movements. Within seconds, the 4 Selati males isolated a young buffalo from the herd. Their coordination was precise and efficient, reducing any margin for error during the chase. This hunt was not only for survival, it was a clear declaration that the era of Mapogo had ended. Power in the world of lions belonged not to the strongest individual, but to the group capable of uniting, adapting, and maintaining strength over time. However, an encounter with the Mapogos Coalition caused them to lose 1 member. The remaining 4 did not break apart. They retreated, observed, recorded information, and waited for the moment when their rivals weakened. When the opportunity arrived, Selati returned with maturity, stability, and readiness for larger competition. Selati returned to the grassland with the calm and determination of a coalition that had reached full maturity. They advanced with a clear strategy that was precise and effective, like the attacks they had practiced through their lives. In the south, the Mapogo group, once the symbol of dominance, had weakened significantly. The three remaining individuals were older, slower, and exhausted after more than 10 years of controlling the region. Their intimidating presence that once pushed other lions away had become a shadow of what it was at their peak. Selati gradually tightened the perimeter. The opportunity appeared when Pretty Boy, a Mapogo member, was found moving alone. Selati launched an immediate attack. The strike was carried out with high speed and coordinated accuracy, causing severe injury to Pretty Boy. Soon after that, MT, the most aggressive individual of Mapogo, fell into another ambush. The lion, once considered the pillar of the legendary coalition, could not withstand the younger and more unified force. His influential dominance ended within the very territory he used to control. When the assaults concluded, Mapogo had only Makulu and Pretty Boy left. These two individuals continued to move without the ability to defend their territory. Age and injuries caused them to become separated and unable to maintain the power they once held. Selati, a name previously unknown to many, officially stepped into the position Mapogo once occupied. The Selati Coalition had defeated the Mapogo legend. As their strength expanded, the eastern plains received the sunrise earlier. A thin layer of mist covered the grassland and reflected the morning light. Gentle movements appeared through the haze. The cheetah, a predator that depended entirely on speed, stepped out from the cover of grass. In nature, cheetahs usually lived alone. They relied on acceleration to bring down small antelope, but they always faced the risk of losing their kill to hyenas, wild dogs, or vultures. However, in the eastern plains of South Africa, observers recorded a rare event. 5 male cheetahs formed a true coalition. They lived together, moved together, and hunted with coordinated precision. This was a behavior that was almost never seen in the species. As the light spread across the grassland, the last drop of dew slid down the back of a young blue wildebeest moving with its herd. The atmosphere remained quiet and tense, but without disorder. From a distance, 5 silhouettes advanced. They lowered their bodies close to the ground and moved with steady and accurate steps. The coalition had taken its position. A silent signal occurred. Muscles tightened. The air remained still, as if waiting for a command. Then the attack happened within seconds. It was fast, clean, and precise. When the sun rose completely, the 5 cheetahs were already seated around the prey, ending the hunt with perfect coordination. The influence of Selati affected not only lions, but the entire Savi ecosystem. Antelope herds gathered closer to areas with scattered trees to avoid the regions controlled by Selati. Cheetah groups moved away from the central territory. Smaller lion coalitions broke apart or were forced to leave. However, one species did not surrender any ground. The Cape buffalo remained in place. This species was large, weighed up to 2,000 pounds, carried curved horns, and had a body structure as thick as armor. Their strength did not come from size alone, but from unity. A buffalo herd moved with the precision of a tactical formation. When danger approached, calves and females were placed in the center, while the adult males formed a protective outer ring. If provoked, the entire herd could counterattack with enough force to push lions against trees and potentially kill them with the impact of dozens of charging individuals. Even Selati, at their strongest point, had to pay a price when confronting buffalo. Cape buffalo did not always win, but among African wildlife, they were one of the few species capable of turning a predator into the one being pursued. In the following 2 years, the 4 Selati males expanded their territory in every direction. They controlled large prides and produced many generations of cubs. In the western Sabi Sands region, there were almost no coalitions strong enough to challenge them. Each roar of Selati confirmed their territorial ownership. Every buffalo hunt became a test of strength. They confronted not only younger lion coalitions, but also scavengers that attempted to enter their boundaries. This was the peak of Selati. It was a period when the coalition became a symbol of strength, strategy, and complete survival efficiency. While Selati continued to cast their influence across the plain, another group of predators appeared on the opposite side of the grassland. The African wild dog entered the scene. This species had less muscle mass than lions and did not have the explosive speed of cheetahs, but they possessed a crucial advantage of their own. They operated with total coordination. A wild dog pack usually had only one breeding pair. All remaining individuals, regardless of size or age, shared the responsibility of raising the young. Food was distributed evenly. When one member of the pack was injured, it was not abandoned. The healthier individuals surrounded it, protected it, and ensured it received food. At sunrise, the pack left their resting place with synchronized movement. They did not need to hide like cheetahs or create traps like lions. Their strategy was endurance, forcing the prey to weaken through steady speed and teamwork. When a herd of antelope detected danger, it was already too late. Wild dogs attacked without loud noise and without roaring. There was only precision and efficiency. When they returned to the pack, the young fed first. There was no competition and no disorder. Order was maintained not from fear, but from natural coordination. While Selati used strength to maintain territory, wild dogs demonstrated that cooperation was a long-term survival strategy. Life on the savanna was maintained through two different methods. One species relied on strength to control territory. The other relied on cooperation to keep the group alive. They lived on the same land, but followed two completely opposite strategies. However, in nature, no power remained permanent. As the reputation of Selati expanded, it attracted not only researchers, but also high-paying hunters. The mature and easily recognizable males of this coalition quickly became targets of commercial hunts, where each individual could be valued at tens of thousands of dollars. These hunts did not reflect biological rules. They represented deaths that were prepared in advance with scopes, specialized firearms, and human intervention. Each individual in Selati, survivors of numerous battles and former opponents of Mapogo and Cape Buffalo, fell one after another during organized hunts. They did not fall in an equal fight. They fell in situations where they had no chance to defend themselves. The end of the Selati Coalition did not occur with roars or a final confrontation. It occurred in silence. These individuals were born in the wild, developed through instinct and experience, and yet they were eliminated by human hands. Those hands belonged to individuals outside the ecosystem who still had the power to decide their fate. Like Mapogo before them, Selati gradually became a legend. However, the cause was different. Mapogo weakened because of natural competition among lion coalitions. Selati disappeared because of humans, a species that did not need claws to kill, but only money and a hunting contract. Selati, a coalition created through competition, strengthened through conflict, and elevated through territorial dominance, was eventually destroyed, not by natural rivals, but by individuals who did not belong to the ecosystem. No roar answered the shot. There was no resistance. There was no chance of survival. The individuals that once stood at the top of the ecosystem became display pieces on the walls of wealthy collectors. They called it legal hunting. They justified it as conservation through commerce. However, they ignored that wildlife was not a commodity. Lions, like Selati, existed through memory, instinct, and social structure, not to serve as decoration. A species that had existed for millions of years, surviving drought, predators, and disease, could not survive human greed. No Selati individual died in a fair fight. They died because someone was willing to pay to kill them. The story of Selati did not represent only 4 lions. It represented a warning. In a world where the reputation of one animal could turn it into a target for hunting, we must ask ourselves what we are protecting and for whom we are protecting it. Each shot and each head mounted on a wall removed another link from the chain of life. Every species that disappeared became a chapter of nature that could never be written again. We could not call ourselves guardians of nature if the cost of conservation was the removal of the very species we claim to protect. The story of Selati needed to be retold, not for regret, but for awareness. It reminded us that every species in an ecosystem had a role, and that action was required before it became too late. Not every legacy could be restored, and without change, the wild world would exist only in still images of a documentary.